It has been a very interesting week in Quebec politics with big news with the announcement of a brand new Musée National, a Museum of Quebec History that was announced by the CQ government. Good news, seemingly, of course. That is great news for culture and history, but there has been some pretty intense pushback from Indigenous groups for very specific reasons. Here to make sense of this entire situation, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will, is political commentator and doctor of law, Frédéric Bérard. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks to you.
Okay, let's talk about this. So the idea of the Musée National, great. The problem is the CQ government, in announcing this museum, said that our Quebec nation started with Champlain. Now, the chief of the Assembly of the First Nations of Quebec pushed back and says this basically relegates First Nations as to somehow being part of prehistory. What exactly do you think motivated the comments, the CQ comments in the first place?
Well, frankly, they're trying to play on the ground that is occupied right now by the PQ. So they're trying to be more nationalist
Than the
than
nationalists.
ever, in a way, in a bad way, I would say, because it doesn't make sense to say that Quebec history just started with Champlain. Quebec history started with the First Nation. The terms itself say it.
It's
right?
self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing is that they are trying to exclude those First Nation, saying, with Champlain, and after that was all about us, all about the French Canadian culture, all about the Catholic. So in doing that, they're offensive for First Nation, that's for sure, but they're also offensive for Anglophones in Quebec who created Quebec history as well. They are offensive for immigrants. I'm thinking here about the Italians, the Irish, and many other groups. So all that to say that it's pretty. I would say deceptive.
And it's inflammatory. It's inflammatory. And I do wonder if this is all part of, this idea that you're trying to be more Québécois pur laine than the other person who's claiming to be more pur laine. I mean, this is being played, you mentioned this, between the CEQ and the Parti Québécois. Walk me through what you think the strategy is in this game when you look at these very incendiary comments.
Well, if you take a look at the picture right now in the survey, if you want to get elected and if you want to stay at power, if you're the CAQ, you need to get rid of the PQ. And to get rid of the PQ, you need to be more nationalist in a way. So it's all that kind of stuff that we've seen for a few months now. Remember the tuition fees for McGill students and Concordia? That was the exact same thing, trying to show to the Francophone population, we are, as nationalists as ever. We are as nationalists as the PQ. We are defending your rights. And in doing so, the problem is that they're creating a very false problem, a problem that does not exist. So they're trying to make political gains about division, and honestly, it's awful. That's the right word.
All right, a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Do you think that they are actually gaining any points, or is there a sense right now that people just see through this? I mean, this is not just a cheap shot at the First Nations. This is, it's embarrassing, quite frankly. So are they actually gaining any political momentum? Are they moving the needle in any way with these things, do you think?
It's hard to tell, obviously, because the survey are not that exhaustive in terms of questions. But
your feeling is,
my feeling is that the answer is yes, because we're living in an era now, and in society as well, that unfortunately division works better than trying to unify people. Take a look at what's happening anywhere in Europe and in the USA as well, anywhere in Occident. Division right now is working like big time in comparison to trying to unify people as we did in the past, because I'm not sure that what we're seeing right now is the real Quebec. What we're seeing right now is a very narrow definition of nationalism that doesn't make sense in terms of history, doesn't make sense in morality neither.
So I'm just curious, how do you see this playing out now? So this is one incident where, from what you're explaining to me, that the CQ thinks that they've scored points by offending the First Nation somehow. I mean, either they didn't care or they did it deliberately. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. So is there like a next move? Does the PQ try to out nationalist the nationalists? Is this what we're going to be watching now? This ping pong game?
Yes, there will probably be there will be a ping pong game. You're right. I don't know what the PQ is how the PQ is gonna react to that. Because remember that the PQ under Jacques Parizeau and under Lucien Bouchard and Bernard Landry and René Lévesque, they were like very open-minded about our First Nation.
Mm-hmm.
They made some great deals all together. So we're gonna see how is the new PQ, but my feeling is that the new PQ has nothing to do with the former PQ in the sense that they're trying to create more division than ever. I would say that.
Yeah, so nothing's off the table. Frédéric Bérard, again, Doctor of Law and political commentator. Thank you for your perspective. It's much appreciated.
My great pleasure.